From my experience, and I've been doing software engineering at Makerere at the beginning of the decade, at the beginning of sort of last decade. From my experience, it wasn't, the banks weren't involved, right? So
Absolutely.
we did some of the stuff we did, especially around software, and we're trying to target white people who'd be interested, right? Maybe financiers from out there who think this is interesting. What does it mean to manage incubation?
Okay, so incubation, I would say we're more of an accelerator, but the same thing pretty much, incubation, accelerator. And we're trying to address one major concern. I mean, if you went to URSB, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau today, you'll find that you're registering close to 100 businesses. If you went back 2 years from now, you'll find that out of those 200 businesses, you have less than 10% that are surviving. So what we're trying to do is to take care of that problem. Why are businesses failing? Why are businesses not flourishing or sustaining themselves over a long period of time? And interestingly as well, if you know more about Uganda in terms of entrepreneurship, we have been considered several times as, one of the most enterprising or entrepreneurial country. But again, the same way we are entrepreneurial is the same way we're also very, around the area of business deaths. So what we're trying to do here is not just to incubate or accelerate, but to look at businesses and take care of three main things: access to finance, access to markets, and again, provision of suitable conditions for the businesses to thrive. Now, if I told you one interesting thing about businesses, one of the critical things that people will say is access to finance. You've just talked about the idea of creating a business and making it attractive to the finances. I've always said one thing: access to finance or access to money is the least of any any entrepreneur's problems. The biggest challenge for many businesses in Uganda is the fact that they are not attractive to the financing. See, if you went into a bank, for instance, to get money, the first thing they'll ask you is for a business plan. Then they'll probably also ask you for, your service history and all of these things, your financial records and all of these things. Many businesses do not actually have that. When you speak to a guy and you ask him for a business plan, he'll point to his head saying, the plan is in the head. Now, forget about the bank funding. Let's imagine equity. We're talking about equity. You're coming to me to invest into your business. There is no way I'm going to invest in your business if I can't see the idea around how you want to make this business a great story. So that becomes a crazy thing. How do you make your business attractive to equity, to bank financing, but also venture capital funds? I'm not willing to invest in something that is stuck in some guy's head. I mean, we're so innovative. We're great with our ideas. We're great with our businesses. But when we come to accessing funding, it becomes a problem because we haven't articulated or made these businesses attractive.
Yeah. Okay. So before we actually go deeper into the funding thing, I want to first look at the other side of the business, the consumer. And from what I think the bank is supposed to be doing is providing financial services for the economy. This whole capitalism ideology works if the consumer is available and is willing to spend money on stuff that's being produced, right? But if we have this kind of innovation that's focusing, and this I think is one of the things that I also found myself when I was doing a little bit of startups. Before Uber came, I've tried to do the pooling thing, right? But what frustrated me was I had enough money on me to actually sort of pilot this, right? Without accessing the bank. But the consumer himself, this was too fancy for them, right? This was extremely out of reach. What is the bank doing, for example? I don't know if this is sort of the field you're related to innovate around that.
Yeah. First and foremost, a lot of people fear what they don't understand. That's the critical thing about, any investor will tell you, do not spend your money, use other people's money to invest or, do business. What many people do not understand, or why they say it's a bit crazy and whatever, is because of the criteria that is set about, the need for compliance. But compliance is so easy. URA history or your NSSF history, whatever. I mean, all of that comes to making your business credible and attractive, like I mentioned before. So when you walk into a bank, instead of having a lengthy conversation, again, the same conversation you could probably have with any, potential funder, it becomes an easier one because it's backed up by evidence, facts, truth, and history. But when you just show up and just say, I want money, and you have no idea for what you want to do, I ask you for your potential for growth in the next 2 years, and you say, well, we're going to still grow. I can feel it. I have a strong feeling. Think about when Corona happened or when we had the lockdown. Not many businesses were ready for that. But you see, if you plan and you have a risk assessment of your business and factor in such eventualities, you definitely survive and you stay afloat.
Yeah. So one of the other things you also mentioned was the fact that Uganda has been known to be entrepreneurial, right? And I actually wrote one of my most read articles on Medium is about Ugandans about those claims, right? From
Absolutely.
the data that I've read, I used to work with UNICEF, and I looked at some of that data. From the data that I've read, what we consider to be entrepreneurs are the fact that people don't go into formal employment, but they start small businesses, right? And these are mostly in the informal sector. Yeah. So these people, and this is what I would imagine, right? If I want to innovate around the informal sector, why is there an expectation that I have to have some sort of formal way of representing the way I look at?
So again, it goes back to how you want to grow or how big you want your dream to grow. You see, if you're informal, there's only a certain point where you can reach, and that's it. Yeah, and that's it. If you want to stay at that point, it's okay. You can stay informal and do your Juakali thing. But if you want to grow, if you're very futuristic, if you want to create the stories that speak about the Mokwano stories, starting from a small duka into a huge enterprise, you have to formalize. So again, it's really about what you want, what you desire. Now we can say, we're a cottage industry and so on and so forth. But let me tell you something about the cottage industry, for instance, in Switzerland. It is small. You have guys working within their houses, but they're formal. And the ability for them to be, the greatness in the formality is that they're able to tap into greater markets. They can go out of the country. If you're informal, for instance, and say you are dealing in the flower sector, you know that the craziest market for your flowers is in Europe, right? But you will need a certificate, you need all of these things. You can't do that if you're informal. So the least that you can do is to support or supply a guy who is exporting. You're not making money. So it's really about how much you really want to grow. I have no problem with you staying informal. It's like a guy saying, I don't want to go to school. Okay, fine, it's cool. You shouldn't go to school. But there's a certain point in terms of opportunity and your outlook to life that you can get. So it's quite really a personal thing. And again, I think personally, on my side, I would encourage you to be formal. You lose nothing.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I don't think the question of whether I want or don't want to get formal. I want to understand why is that bridge, right?
Yeah.
I'm a border guy. I started riding my border. I understood the business. I ran a chain of borders. I have, say, 200 borders, right? I know this because it's a business I know.
Okay.
Ever since I was of knowing age, this is the only thing I've done, for example, and this is hypothetical. Yeah. So I'm making money. I see there is potential for growth. Say I can get into the taxi business or the bus business, but I may need to take up a loan. I may need to get some financing from somewhere. Maybe get tech partners. But I just know how to meet you at the bar and talk to you because I've ever driven you to your home once, right? Where is that bridge? Where does the informal guy find?
So first and foremost, that border guy is going to struggle on really becoming or getting to that taxi point. I'll tell you why. First and foremost, if he wants to get a loan, he'll have to get it very expensively because it's not formal. You'll know that very many funny lending avenues, including money lenders, lend extremely high, and that is per month. If you went to a bank, it is so cheap and it's annual. So again, for your business to grow, for your business to actually survive, you have a lot of potential. But also, there's so many grants and money flying around for business support to support such enterprises to grow. But you have to be organized and formal in either an association or so on and so forth. If you're not that, the money passes you. Currently, we have a youth for business project. And all we're saying is, just be a formalized business. You don't have to register with URSP, but you can register with, your local council, and we have to see evidence of you paying your taxes or your dues, and you have access to funding. But also another thing that is interesting about such a border guy is think about him and compare him to a border guy who has formalized through entities like Safe Border. When we had lockdown, which borders were operating?